For 30 years, a serial killer sent letters to the police. He described his crimes in detail, he gave himself a name, he taunted investigators, corrected their mistakes, and complained when the newspapers didn't cover his work properly. And for 30 years, nobody caught him. His name was Dennis Rader, but he preferred the name he invented for himself, BTK. It stood for bind, torture, kill, a precise description of his method, written in his own hand, and mailed to the Wichita Police Department in 1974, along with a detailed account of his first murders. The letter began, "I write this letter to you for the sake of the taxpayer as well as your time." He was a church president, a compliance officer, a husband and father of two. His neighbors described him as strict but ordinary. Every Sunday he stood at the pulpit. Every few years, he killed someone. And then he wrote about it. The correspondence continued for decades. When newspapers stopped covering the case, Rader wrote to complain. When police got a detail wrong, he corrected them. He sent poems. He sent drawings. He sent a coded message that took investigators months to crack, and when they finally decoded it, it contained nothing useful. He had done it purely for the sport of it. Police were desperate. They responded through newspaper ads, carefully worded public statements, small signals that investigators hoped Rader would interpret as communication. It was, by any definition, the strangest exchange in the history of American law enforcement. Then, in 2004, after a decade of silence, Rader started writing again. He had grown restless, he wanted recognition, and in 2005, he made the decision that ended everything. He sent police a floppy disk. Inside it was a deleted file. Investigators recovered it in minutes. It contained a single word, the name of a church. A search of that church's computer records showed the disk had last been used by a man named Dennis. His last name came up in the church's congregation database. Dennis Rader was arrested on February 25th, 2005. When police pulled him over, he was calm, almost relieved. He confessed to 10 murders spanning 31 years. At sentencing, the judge asked if he had anything to say. He gave a 30-minute speech, detailed, organized, completely without remorse. The man who had spent 30 years writing to police had one last thing he needed the world to hear. He made sure they listened.